Welcome to She Wins, Women, Wealth, Wisdom, and Legacy, the podcast where financial empowerment meets fearless living. If you're a woman who's built a life with purpose and is ready to align your wealth with what matters most, you're in the right place. Your host, Carol Eddy, is a certified financial planner, financial educator, and passionate advocate for helping women live fearlessly and leave a legacy. Whether they are preparing for retirement, managing an inheritance, or simply looking for financial guidance, Carol has helped her clients feel confident in their financial plan for over 25 years. Each week, she'll share insights and practical strategies to help you create financial freedom, navigate smart money choices, master your money mindset, and make winning decisions now and for the next chapter of your life. No intimidation, no overwhelm, no jargon, just wisdom, clarity, and the confidence to manage your wealth, embrace your power, and craft a future you love. Welcome to the show. As a reminder, the content shared on this podcast is intended for informational purposes only. It does not constitute personalized financial advice. For guidance tailored to your specific situation, you can schedule an appointment with Carol. This is an independent podcast not affiliated with Money Concepts Capital Corporation. All securities offered through Money Concepts Capital Corporation member, FINRA SIPC.
Welcome, everyone. Today we're diving into one of the most important and often avoided conversations in family wealth: how to prepare your adult children to be wise stewards, not entitled heirs. Because your greatest legacy isn't the wealth you pass down, it's the wisdom that goes with it. Part 1, the inheritance no one talks about. When we hear the word inheritance, we tend to think of numbers: account balances, property deeds, wills, and trusts. But every inheritance carries two stories: the financial story and the emotional story. You can get the financial part right on paper and still have the emotional part unravel everything. Let me tell you about Julie. Julie built her success slowly, a small business that grew into a thriving consulting firm. She raised two adult children, Megan, a nurse, and Alex, an engineer. Julie loved them both fiercely and wanted her estate divided fairly. She had a trust, a will, and beneficiaries listed. Everything was neat and legal, but she never had the conversation. She thought she was protecting her kids by not talking about the money. When she passed unexpectedly, the plan she believed was simple became complicated overnight. Alex wanted to sell the family vacation home to invest the proceeds. Megan wanted to keep it for her children. Neither understood why their mother had made certain decisions, like leaving the business property in a separate trust. Soon, conversations turned into arguments, emails turned into lawyers, and a once loving family fractured. Julie prepared the documents, but she never prepared the people. That's the truth behind so many estate breakdowns. Most plans fail not because of bad math, but because of bad communication. We can spend years perfecting the legal structure, but if your kids don't understand your intentions, the meaning behind your choices, they're left trying to guess your values when you're not here to explain them. The real legacy we leave behind. When we strip away the numbers, most women want the same thing: to know their children will use their inheritance wisely, to know that the values that built their wealth, hard work, generosity, and gratitude, won't be forgotten. But that kind of inheritance doesn't happen by accident. It happens through conversation, storytelling, and guidance, long before a will is read. So before we talk about trusts and taxes, I want you to ask yourself something powerful. What do I actually want my money to do? Not just for my children, but through them. That question is where the legacy begins. Part 2, from money to meaning, the power of conversation. Now let's talk about Diane. Diane ran a design studio for 25 years. She was smart, disciplined, and deeply loving, the kind of woman who quietly took care of everyone. Diane wanted to keep it all simple and do a 50-50 split between her two sons. That's the default, and it sounds fair, but fair doesn't always mean right. Her oldest son, Ben, had gone through a painful divorce and was still rebuilding financially. Her younger son, Adam, was meticulous, a saver, investor, and planner. Diane later realized that she wanted her legacy to teach something, not just give something. She wanted her sons to know that money is a tool, not a trophy. That became her North Star. So Diane's plan included 2 trusts, both equal in value, but structured differently. One provided guided distributions for stability, the other offered flexibility for growth. More importantly, Diane didn't stop there. She explained why. One Sunday afternoon, she invited her sons to lunch. She told them, "You're both strong, capable men, but I've made a few choices that reflect where you each are right now. It's not about favoritism, it's about love. I trust you both to use what I leave you with wisdom." There were tears, then laughter, then understanding. When Diane passed several years later, her sons didn't argue. They honored her story because she had already shared it with them. That's the power of having the conversation before the crisis. Part 3, 3 stages of stewardship. So how do you raise stewards, not heirs? Here's a simple framework you can use. 1, start with the story, not the statements. You don't have to reveal every financial detail. You just need to tell the story behind your wealth. Share the lessons you've learned along the way. The first big mistake you might have made and what it taught you. The moment you realized you needed a plan. Or the values that guided your biggest decisions. Maybe it's gratitude, discipline, generosity, or courage. Whatever it is, say it out loud. Because if you don't, your kids will only inherit the numbers, not the narrative. One woman, Elaine, wrote a letter to my daughters, explaining her journey. She wrote, "You may see the assets I'm leaving, but what I hope you really see are the choices I made. The nights I stayed up worrying, the moments I chose integrity over convenience, and the gratitude I felt every single time a door opened." That letter became more valuable to her daughters than the estate itself. That's what legacy sounds like. 2, include your children in stewardship early. You don't have to wait until you're gone to start teaching stewardship. In fact, the best legacy planning happens while you're alive. Invite your children into financial conversations gradually. Have them join your advisor meeting for 15 minutes. Ask their opinion on a charitable gift. Share your reasoning behind updating your will. These small touches create familiarity and confidence. They shift your kids from recipients to participants. One mother I know gave her 3 children a small annual giving budget, $1,000 each to donate to any cause they cared about. At the end of the year, they'd gather for dinner and share where the money went and why. Years later, when she passed, those same children decided to continue her giving tradition together because it was already a part of who they were. Stewardship is built through experience, not inheritance. 3, align your tools with your intentions. This is where the practical side meets the emotional one. If your goal is protection, a revocable living trust avoids probate and keeps details private. A spendthrift clause protects against poor decisions. If your goal is empowerment, a discretionary trust or incentive trust can release funds for education, entrepreneurship, or home ownership, aligning money with milestones. If your goal is meaning, a donor-advised fund or a family foundation lets your children continue your charitable mission long after you're gone. And finally, don't overlook your ethical will, a written and recorded message that shares your beliefs, values, and life lessons. It's not a legal document, but it's often the one that families treasure the most. Think of it as a love letter to your legacy. Part 4, confronting the emotional roadblocks. Let's be honest, this isn't easy. Even confident, successful women sometimes say, "I don't know how to bring this up without sounding morbid or controlling." That's normal. Talking about death and money touches deep emotions, fear, guilt, anxiety, even shame. But avoiding it doesn't make those feelings go away. It just leaves them for your children to deal with later. Here's how you can ease into it. Step 1, set the tone. Choose a calm setting, maybe a Sunday brunch or a quiet evening at home. Say, "I've been thinking a lot about the future and what matters most. I'd love to share a few things with you." Step 2, start with gratitude. I feel so proud of what our family has built. I want you to understand how I've planned things and why, so that when the time comes, there's clarity, not confusion. Step 3, ask, don't just tell. Ask them questions like, what do you think our family stands for? Or what lessons about money have stuck with you? Or what kind of legacy do you want to leave someday? When it becomes a conversation, not a lecture, the tone shifts from control to collaboration. Part 5, the unexpected benefit, healing old wounds. Sometimes inheritance planning uncovers something deeper, unfinished stories. Let me tell you about Martin and Diane, a blended family. Martin had 2 children from his first marriage. Diane had 1 daughter. They had been married 20 years and built a beautiful life together. But when it came to estate planning, things got complicated. They worried. Would Diane's daughter feel left out? Would Martin's kids think she took too much? Would they fight after they were gone? Instead of ignoring the discomfort, they faced it head on. They brought all 3 adult children together one Thanksgiving weekend, yes, during the holidays, and said, "We want to share our plan with you. It's not perfect, but it reflects what we believe is fair and loving." They walked through their estate with transparency, explaining why certain assets would pass to each child and how they wanted them to care for one another. It wasn't a tear-free conversation, but it was an honest one, and it changed everything. After that day, the kids stopped speculating. They started cooperating. They didn't have to guess what fair meant. They already knew. That's what happens when you replace silence with understanding. Part 6, what stewardship looks like in action. Let's talk about Claire, a woman whose story reminds us why this work matters. Claire inherited about $2 million from her mother. Her mom was brilliant, but secretive. She never discussed her finances, never shared her plans. So when she passed, Claire and her brother found themselves buried in paperwork and emotion. It took nearly 2 years to unravel everything. Claire said later, "The hardest part wasn't the legal mess, it was realizing how little I really knew about her wishes." That grief turned into motivation. She vowed, "I won't do this to my daughters." So Claire started early. Every January, she invited her 2 grown daughters over for brunch and said, "Let's talk about our family story this year." Sometimes they discussed values, sometimes giving, sometimes her investment philosophy. By the time she formalized her estate, her daughters were part of the process. They knew which charities she loved, how her trust was structured, and what wise stewardship looked like in their family. Years later, when she passed, there were no surprises. Her daughters grieved, but they also celebrated. They knew how to honor her memory because they already practiced doing it together. They continued her giving plan, maintained her scholarship fund, and even wrote a letter to their own children, paying the wisdom forward. That's inheritance that lasts. Part 7, your family legacy blueprint. Let's bring this together with a practical framework you can use starting this week. Number 1, clarify your core values. Ask yourself, what principles guided my financial life? What do I hope my family remembers about me? What does wealth mean beyond money? Write those down. They form the foundation of your legacy. Number 2, communicate with compassion. Remember, timing and tone matter. Lead with empathy, not authority. If emotions rise, pause and return later. The goal isn't to finish the talk, it's to keep it open. Number 3, document the details. Work with your advisor and estate attorney to ensure that your documents reflect your wishes, your beneficiaries are up to date, your assets are titled correctly, and your family knows where to find everything. Organization is an act of love. Number 4, model stewardship while you're still alive. You can demonstrate stewardship right now. Give generously. Mentor your children in a financial decision-making. Celebrate their responsible choices. You don't have to wait for someday. The legacy begins today. Part 8, the heart of it all. When we talk about inheritance, we're really talking about trust. not the legal kind, the emotional kind. Trust that your children will handle what you've built with care. Trust that they'll carry forward your purpose, and trust that your story will live through them. But trust grows in the light of conversation, not the shadow of secrecy. So if you take one thing away from this episode, let it be this. Your estate plan can distribute assets, but only your voice can pass down wisdom. Before we wrap up, I want to invite you to take one quiet moment this week. Grab a notebook or your journal and write down your answer to this simple question. What do I most want my children to remember about how I lived? Not what I owned. When you can answer that, you're already building your legacy. If today's episode sparked something in you and you realize it's time to start preparing your kids to be wise stewards, not just recipients, I've created something that could make that easier. You can download a free copy of the Family Legacy Conversation Checklist. It walks you step by step through how to start these talks, what topics to cover, and how to tie your financial plan to your family values. You can grab it now in the show notes. Because when women lead these conversations, family don't just inherit wealth, they inherit wisdom. And that, my friend, is the most valuable legacy of all. If this episode inspired you, share it with other women who are building their legacy. And don't forget to follow the show wherever you listen to podcasts, so you never miss an episode designed to help you protect what matters most. Together, we're rewriting the story of wealth, one fearless woman at a time. Thanks for listening.
Thank you for joining us today for the She Wins Women, Wealth, Wisdom, and Legacy podcast. If today's episode sparked a shift in how you think about your money, your future, or your legacy, imagine what's possible when we walk this journey together. And if you found value in today's conversation, please share this episode with a woman you care about. Together we rise and we shine. If this inspired you to take charge of your financial future, don't stop there. Download your free guide, A Woman's Guide to Triumph in Every Decade of Her Wealth, by clicking the link on the screen or in the show notes. It's designed to give you powerful tools and clarity at every stage of your wealth journey. And be sure to follow or subscribe now so you never miss an episode. Until next time, stay wise, stay empowered, and remember, it's time to rise, lead, and thrive with your wealth, your wisdom, and your legacy. As a reminder, the content shared on this podcast is intended for informational purposes only. It does not constitute personalized financial advice. For guidance tailored to your specific situation, you can schedule an appointment with Carol. This is an independent podcast not affiliated with Money Concepts Capital Corporation. All securities offered through Money Concepts Capital Corporation member, FINRA SIPC.